take place in this particular thing. Okay guys, good morning Usman, Chandra Pratap, Kanag, Suresh Kumar. So shall I start the today's topics? Let's start for the today. It's about the Mauryan Empire. So before I start this particular topic, I will simply like to brief you about something, that the first dynasty in India was the Haryak dynasty, second was the Shishunag, then came the Nanda dynasty, and then thereafter we have the which one? Mauryan dynasty. So if the question comes ki which was the first dynasty in India, you will see it was the Haryak, second was Shishunag, then came Nanda, then came Maurya. Okay, na? These are the four important dynasties, in which the most important dynasty was the Mauryan dynasty. Now remember one thing, there are many sources regarding the establishment of the Mauryan Empire, and the main person behind this particular establishment was Chanakya, which we call it Vishnugupta or we call it Kautilya. And the reference of the Mauryan dynasty has been taken from many literary sources. But among all the literary sources, there are three important sources which tells us about and from where we have gathered the information about the Mauryan dynasty. One is the first important is the Mudra Rakshasa. Mudra Rakshasa. It was the book written by Vishak Dutt. Vishak Dutt. This was one of the important sources. Second important source was the Arth Shastra. Arth Shastra. And third important one was the Indica, that was written by Megasthenes. It was written by whom? You will say Megasthenes. So if the question comes, what are the important sources of the Mauryan Empire through which we came to know about all the stories of the Mauryan Empire? One was the Mudra Rakshas written by Vishakadatta, second was Arthashastra written by Kautilya or Chanakya or Vishnugupta, and third was the Megasthenes. Megasthenes was in the court of Chandragupta Maurya, and he was gifted to Chandragupta Maurya as a philosopher or as a scholar by Seleucus Nicator, and Seleucus Nicator was the commander-in-chief of the Alexander. So when Alexander came to India and when he returned back from this country, he appointed Seleucus Nicator as his commander-in-chief to look after the territory which he won by defeating the Porus, which was between the river Chenab and Satluj. So you have to simply remember 3 points, that the information regarding the Mauryan establishment or the Mauryan Empire has been taken from 3 important literary sources. Mudra Rakshas written by Vishakadatta, Arthashastra by Kautilya. Kautilya is also known as Chanakya. Chanakya is also known by the other name, which one? Vishnugupta. And these 3 names of the Chanakya, that is the Vishnugupta and Kautilya, has been mentioned in the book Mudra Rakshas. If the question comes, from which literary source we come to know that Chanakya is also known as Vishnugupta or we can say Kautilya, you will say it's from the book Mudra Rakshas. These are the important literary sources about the Mauryan Empire. The most important ruler who established this particular dynasty was the Chandragupta Maurya, then came Bindusar, then came Ashoka, and Ashoka was the most, you can say, successful and the most important ruler of the entire Mauryan kings. Now come to the first one. You see, it is believed that Chandragupta Maurya was the ruler of the Mauryan dynasty from 321 to 297 BC. In some of the book, you may find it 323 BC as well. Actually, this was the year of establishment, 323 BC. But we have taken the reference from 321 to 297 BC. Don't forget this time period. From 321 to 297 BC was the rule of Chandragupta Maurya. He was the first ruler of the Maurya and was also known by the name Samrat Chakravartin, that is the universal ruler. If it is asked in the question, who has taken the title of Chakravarti, then you will say it's the Chandragupta Maurya. He defeated the last ruler of Nanda dynasty, Dhananand, with the help of Chanakya, Kautilya, or we can say Vishnugupta. And he defeated Seleucus Nicator, who was the commander-in-chief or the general of the Alexander, in 321 BC and signed a treaty with him and entered into the marriage alliance. You have simply to understand one thing, that Chandragupta Maurya, who ruled the Mauryan dynasty from 321 to 297 BC, is also known by the name Samrat Chakravartin, and he came to throne of Mauryan, into the throne of, you can say, Magadha dynasty by defeating the last ruler of the Nanda dynasty, whose name was Dhananand. And Chandragupta Maurya was also successful in defeating the general of Alexander, Seleucus Nicator, and after defeating Seleucus Nicator, he entered into a matrimonial alliance, or we can say the marriage alliance, and married her daughter Helena. The name of the Seleucus Nicator daughter was Helena, who was married to which one? You will say Chandragupta Maurya. And they have a very good relationship. They have converted this relationship into a family relationship. And remember one thing, in return of the marriage, he got 500 elephants in region of the northwestern region. After marrying Helena, Chandragupta Maurya gifted 500 elephants to Seleucus Nicator, and he also offered him to rule over the northwestern part of India. Aditya, I will guide you how to be an IAS, don't worry. So is it clear to all of you? So we have 5 facts from this particular topic, that the rule of Chandragupta Maurya was from 321 to 297 BC. He was known as the Samrat Chakravartin. He defeated Dhananand, the last ruler of Nan dynasty. He defeated Seleucus Nicator and married his daughter Helena, and return of which he gave 500 elephants to Seleucus Nicator. Remember one thing, the Greek ambassador Megasthenes came during the period of Chandragupta Maurya, and Chandragupta Maurya is known by the name of Sandrocotus by the Greek scholar. This is a very important question that you must be aware of. If the question comes, in the Greek scholar has given, the Greek scholar used to call Chandragupta Maurya by which Greek name? You can say it's the Sandrocotus. Actually, these names were given by the Greek scholars to the Indian rulers simply for one reason, because they were not able to pronounce the Indian name. So in order to recognize these rulers in their name, they used to give the name. So Sandrocotus was the name of the Chandragupta Maurya, which this name was given by the Greek scholars. And remember one thing, in the court of Chandragupta Maurya came the Megasthenes, who is known as the author of Indica. Remember one thing, this Chandragupta Maurya in his end time adopted the which religion? You will say Jainism, under the influence of Bhadrabahu, and went to Shravanbelgola, which is in Karnataka, and died by the process of slow starvation at Chandragiri Hills near Mangalore in Karnataka. Remember one thing, in the Jainism chapter I have told you yesterday, those people who want to attain nirvana, who want to have the salvation, who want to get freedom from the cycle of birth and death, they need to go through the penance that I have already discussed yesterday. And the one method which is followed in the Jainism culture in order to give up the life is the process of slow starvation. What is slow starvation? First of all, you will reduce your intake of diet, and thereafter you will go on water fast, and then you will stop eating anything and intake of water. That is called the Sallekhan Vidhi. That is also known as the Sallekhan Vidhi. No issues, Sumant Viswas, you can continue. So remember one thing, Chandragupta Maurya was the great admirer of, or we can say he was the follower of which religion? You will say he was the follower of Jainism, and he adopted Jainism on the advice of Bhadrabahu. And remember one thing, it was during the Chandragupta Maurya, under whose tenure the first Jain council was held at Patliputra, which I have told you yesterday. And in the first council of the Jainism was divided into 2 sects, that is called Digambar and Shwetambar. The Digambar was led by Bhadrabahu, and the Shwetambar was led by Stulbhadra. Bhadrabahu was the, we can say, Jain monk. He was not a Tirthankar, he was a Jain monk who influenced Chandragupta Maurya to adopt Jainism as the main religion. And remember one thing, if the question comes by which process and at which place Chandragupta Maurya ended his life, you will say he ended his life by the process of slow starvation, and he went with Chandrabhayu to the Shravanbelgola. Don't forget this particular place, Shravanbelgola. This is very important. Shravanbelgola, or we can say Shravanbelgola. What is the issue? Tell me please. Am I not audible and visible to all of you? Is everything fine? How we can say Bhadrabhai was the Acharya of Jainism. He was one of the individual who, after the death of Mahavir Jain, worked for the spread of the Jainism religion. Okay, let's come to the next one. You see, whatever question you want to ask me about your at your personal level, like I want to be an IAS, what is the exam date, these things don't discuss in between the class, because when I am in flow, let me be in flow. Because if you will keep posting me these questions, then I will not be able to express all the content to you. So please, at the end of the class, I will myself ask you what are your queries, and then accordingly I will solve it. Take it up. So please don't put your questions right away. Let me first of all finish the topic. The first job of mine is to make you aware of the today's topic, and once I am done with that topic, then I will take the doubts. So please cooperate. Next one, the famous literature that was written during the Chandragupta period was the Indica Republic, that was written by Megasthenes, and second was the Arthashastra, that was written by the Chanakya. Clear all of you? Now comes the Bindusar. The rule of Bindusar was from 297 to 273 BC. 297 to 273 BC. Simply remember one thing, Bindusar has nothing much to do in the Mauryan dynasty, because his father Chandragupta Maurya has made the empire flourished to the extreme south of this particular country, and he has given such a vast empire to Bindusar that Bindusar was, simply you can understand, he was lost in his glory. The only great work in the history he has done, that he has given birth to Ashoka, who became one of the most significant, or we can say the most important ruler in the entire Mauryan dynasty. Good morning, Sarvani Sahuji. Next one. Chandragupta Maurya was succeeded by his son Bindusar, and Bindusar is known by the name Amritghatha, or Amrito, we call him Amritghatha by the Greek scholar. I told you Sandrocotus is the name of Chandragupta Maurya and Amritghat was the name of the Bindusar. A Greek scholar that is known Gimachos and Dionysius came during the period of Bindusar. Don't forget these two, the name of these two Greek scholars. One is the Dimacho and second is the Dionysius. This is, he is Dionysius. इसको ऐसे भी लिख सकते हो आप, Dionysius. And second is the which one? Dimacho. They came during the period of Bindusar. It is believed that Bindusar expanded the Mauryan Empire from east to west and conquered almost all India except Kaling in Orissa. That was the plateau region of Kerala. Only remember one thing, during the tenure of Bindusar, only two regions were not captured, or that were not the part of Mauryan dynasty. One was the Kaling, that is in Orissa, and second was the plateau region of Kerala. So extreme south Kerala was not the part, and extreme east, we can say, on the coastal part, Kaling was not the part. Bindusar asked the king of Syria, Antiochus I, to send him some bottles of wines, dry fruits and so forth. So they can ask you कि Bindusar had the trade links with which king? Then you will say he was having the trade relations with the king of Syria, who was Antiochus I. This has been asked several times in the exam कि Antiochus I, who was the king of Syria, had the trade links with which Indian emperor? You will say it's the Bindusar, who ruled the Mauryan dynasty from 297 to 273 BC. Clear है? तो आपको दो चीजें याद रखना है. Megasthenes, who has written the book Indica Republic, he came into the court of Chandragupta Maurya and he was gifted by Seleucus Nicator to Maurya. Second, Sandrocotus is the name given to Chandragupta Maurya, and Amritoghat or Amritghat is the name given to the Bindusar. Two scholars were into the court of Bindusar. One was Dimacho and second was Dionysius and Dimacho. 2D याद रखना है, ठीक है ना? 2D. बिंदुसार में डी प्रोमिनेंट है, इसको ऐसे ध्यान रखना, इसको लेटर लिंकेज के लिए. बिंदुसार में डी प्रोमिनेंट है, तो टू पर्सन्स विद द नेम डी, दिमाचो एंड द डायनोसियस. ही वाज इन द कोर्ट ऑफ विच वन? बिंदुसार, एंड ही हैज द एक्सटर्नल ट्रेड लिंक्स विद द रूलर ऑफ द Syrian king, that is the Antiochus I. They will ask you one question कि what were the objects that was imported from the Syrian king Antiochus I. So you have to remember he used to have the wines, dry fruits and the sophis. What is sophis? It is one of the we can say precious stone of that time. ये blue color का एक stone होता था जिसको ये पहनता था. Antiochus I in return sent everything except the sophist because the Greek law prohibited sending of the sophist. Bindusar made his son Ashoka as the governor of Ujjain. So they will ask you कि before becoming the king of Mauryan dynasty, or before becoming the emperor of the Mauryan dynasty, Ashok was the governor of which particular place? You will say कि he was the governor of the Ujjain, and Bindusar died in the year which one? 273 BC. It was the end of his rule. The only relationship between Bindusar and Syrian king Antiochus I was the relationship of trade, and he wanted to have the which one? ये कैसा क्वेश्चन है जीशान कि बिंदुसार का बिंदु क्यों पड़ा? आप ये सब क्वेश्चन की बकवास वाले क्वेश्चन क्यों पूछ रहे हो? अब आपका नाम जीशन अली क्यों पड़ा? कैन यू आंसर मी? मेरा नाम रोशन क्यों है? सो व्हेनेवर अ पर्सन इज नेम्ड, then they are named according to their parents' wish and will. Come to the next one. Now come to the next one. We have the Ashoka, the third important ruler. So first we studied about the Sandrocotus, second was Amitrghat, and third we are talking about the which one? Ashoka. He is a very important ruler in the Mauryan dynasty. इसका tenure आपको भूलना नहीं है. 269 to 232 BC. This is the 269 to 232 BC. It's the time period of Ashoka the Great. Remember one thing, after the death of Bindusar, there was a struggle for the throne, but in the end, Ashoka was crowned as the king in the 269 BC. Remember one thing, he has fought the war with 100 of his brothers. He has killed 99 of his brothers to ascend on the throne of the Mauryan dynasty. Remember one thing, the Ceylonese or the Sri Lankan chronicles, Deepavans and Mahavans tells that Ashoka killed his 99 brothers, including his elder brother Sushima, but he spared his youngest brother Tish. Remember one thing, he was having the 100 brothers all together and he killed 99 of it. Only the only brother which he left and he did not kill was the Tisha. Don't forget this question, this is very important. They will ask you that this killing of 99 brothers by Ashoka is mentioned in the which text, and you will see it is mentioned in the Sri Lankan text or the Sri Lankan chronicles, Deepavans and Mahavans. So they can ask you what is Deepavans and Mahavans. You will simply say these are the chronicles or the stories of the Sri Lanka in which we have the reference of Ashoka the Great, and in which it is written in order to become the emperor of the Mauryan dynasty, he killed 99 out of 100 brothers of him, in which his elder brother Sushima was included, and thus the youngest Tisha was spared. Only the Tisha was the brother which was not killed by Ashoka, otherwise his eldest, they can ask you who was the elder brother of Ashoka, you will say it is Sushima. Sushima is the name of, clear hai? Good morning. Guys, अभी थोड़ी देर पहले मैंने आपको एक इन्फॉर्मेशन दी थी कि प्लीज डोंट चैट मिस्चीवियस थिंग्स ओवर दिस प्लेटफॉर्म, बट यू पीपल आर मैच्योर इनफ एंड स्टिल बिहेविंग लाइक दैट. Why are you posting such vague comments on this particular thing? You please come to me, I will teach you SSC. If someone is asking and I have told you, I will check all your queries at the end of the session. So please cooperate. You people are not understanding. You are not a kindergarten student that I need to ping you time and again. Try to understand. Why are you wasting your time and why are you wasting my time as well? If you have joined the course, you have joined the platform, please cooperate with the faculty, please cooperate with the teacher and try to learn something. Okay, come to the next one. So I have told you about the Ashoka, two important things. He came to throne after killing 99 of his brother. He killed his eldest brother who was named Sushima, but he spared his youngest brother who was named as the Tish. His father's name was Bindusar and mother's name was Maharani Dharma or Shubhdrangi. This is very important. The name of the Ashoka's mother was Shubhdrangi. Remember this. Shubhdrangi is the name of the Ashoka's mother. Clear? Ashoka had 4 wives named Kaurvaki, Devi, Padmavati and Tishyraksha. You have to know everything about the Ashoka. So remember one thing, he was the son of Bindusar and his mother was Shubhdrangi, which is also known as Maharani Dharma. Shubhdrangi. Don't forget the name Shubhdrangi. The name of the father was Bindusar, name of the mother was Shubhdrangi, and he had 4 wives, namely Kaurvaki, Devi, Padmavati and Tishyraksha. ये वो पद्मावती मूवी वाली पद्मावती नहीं है, ठीक है ना, वो पद्मावत है. Kaurvaki, Devi, Padmavati and Tishyraksha. Remember, try to understand it. His mother was Shubhdrangi, the mother of Ashoka was Shubhdrangi, and the name of his wives, he had 4 important wives, namely Kaurvaki, Devi, Padmavati and Tishyraksha. Try to understand that. Kaurvaki, Devi, Padmavati and the Tishyraksha. Come to the next one. And the rule of the Ashoka was from 269 to 232 BC. Remember, Ashoka is known for one of the historical battles in the history, that was the War of Kaling. You see, he became king in 269 BC, that I have just told you, and in the 8th year of his rule, don't forget this, in the 8th year of his rule, in 261 BC, he fought a very important battle. I told you that Bindusar was not able to capture Kaling, which was the part of Odisha, and he was also not able to capture the plateau part of the Kerala. So remember one thing, he fought the famous battle of Kalinga in the year 261 BC, in which around 150,000 people were died, and this battle has been mentioned in the Rock Edict 13 of Ashoka. You see, during the Mauryan administration, the Ashoka used to communicate with the common people of his empire with the help of certain rules and regulations, and all these rules and regulations were engraved on a, you can say, stone pillar that was given the name Rock Edict. So he has altogether done Aditya Kumar, what is your problem? Dev Rawat, you will get all the notes and don't worry. Aditya Kumar, what is your problem? Can you please tell me? Mr. Aditya, I am talking to you. Will you please reply me? What is your problem? Mr. Aditya, I am speaking to you. I am talking to you. Will you please reply me? What is your problem? Why are you posting these things? Why are you asking all this rubbish thing? He tell me about Delhi Sultanate. Am I teaching Delhi Sultanate right now? Sometimes you are asking, tell me about IAS, tell me about SSC, tell me about Delhi Sultanate. Why are you not concentrating on the lecture? You are disturbing me and disturbing the entire people over this platform. If you are not interested, leave the session. Why are you creating the mess over this platform? You are not concentrating on the NTPC, and I must tell you, people like you who is not concentrated in his approach or its study, they cannot succeed. Try to understand. You people are mature. Chalo, come to this one. So you have to remember that when he became the king in 269 BC, Ashoka, in the 8th year of his rule, that is in 261 BC, he fought a famous battle, that is from the War of Kaling in 261 BC. But in this particular war, more than 150,000 people were killed. And remember one thing, this massacre, or we can say this genocide, this was a genocide type of thing only, really changed the heart of Ashoka. And after this war, he will try to give up all the theory of physical possession, and he will simply go into the we can say he will embrace Buddhism. And remember one thing, the Kaling War has been mentioned in the Ashokan Rock Edict number 13. Don't forget, this is a very important question. They will ask you in the exam, in which of the Rock Edict of Ashoka the Kaling War has been mentioned. So you will simply learn one thing, that Kaling War has been mentioned in the Rock Edict number 13. Remember one thing, after 9 years of the Kaling War in the year 252 BC, under the influence of Upgupta, Ashoka adopted Buddhism. Remember, Upgupta was the son of Sushima. Sushima was the eldest brother of Ashoka, और इन्हीं का बेटा था सुसीमा का उपगुप्त, जिसके कहने पर, उसके इन्फ्लुएंस में आकर के अशोका ने किसको अपनाया? बुद्धिज्म को. Remember that particular thing, ठीक है ना? Ashoka adopted the Buddhism after 9 years of the Kaling War in 252 BC under the influence of Upgupta, and Upgupta was the son of Susima. Remember one thing, after adopting Buddhism, Ashoka changed completely and adopted the policy of Dharm Vijay and replaced the old policy of Digvijay. This is also known as Veri Ghosh to Dham Ghosh. Don't forget it. What is Veri Ghosh? Veri Ghosh is basically the physical occupation of any territory, physical occupation of any region by using the force or through the process of war. And Dham Ghosh is basically a policy in which you give up all methods of your war and you try to console the people and you try to spread the religion, you try to be very peaceful in your nature. So remember one thing, after the Kaling War, in which more than 150,000 people were killed, after the 9 years of the passing of the Kaling War, this man, Ashoka, under the influence of Upgupta, who was the son of his eldest brother Sushima, he adopted the Buddhism. And after adopting Buddhism, he gave up the concept of war. It means what is Veri Ghosh? That is the war concept. And he started to promote the Buddhism to the entire region of the country, and he adopted which one? Dhamma Ghosh. So this giving, after Buddhism, you can simply understand one thing, he gave up the policy of physical occupation and he adopted the policy of Dharma or the Dharma. Remember one thing, Ashoka built the famous Sanchi Stupa at Sanchi in Madhya Pradesh. This question has been asked several times in the railway exams. It is in Madhya Pradesh, Aditya. Ashoka built the famous Sanchi Stupa at Sanchi, which is in the state of MP. So any doubt, guys? Remember one thing, Ashoka is known for organizing the third Buddhist council in the 250 BC at his capital city of Patliputra in order to promote the Buddhism. I told you in the last class, first is Rajgiri, second is Vaishali, third is Patliputra, and fourth is the Kundalwan in Kashmir. These are the locations of all those Buddhist council that was held. First was under the Kalashok, second was under the Vaishali was under the, which one? Can anyone say? हाँ, पूरी पीडीएफ मिलेगी आपको, डोंट वरी. मैं क्वेश्चन ये पूछ रहा था कि जो सेकंड बुद्धिस्ट काउंसिल थी वो किसके रूल में हुआ था? सेकंड वन, आई एम आस्किंग द सेकंड वन. Anyone? First was Ashok, second was, oh sorry, I'm so sorry. The Rajgri was by the Ajatashatru. The first was Ajatashatru, second is Ashok, third is Ashok, and fourth is the Kanishk. Is it now? First was Ajatashatru. You are right. First was Ajatashatru, second was Ashok, third was Ashoka, and the fourth was, first is Ajatashatru only. Remember one thing, the third Buddhist council was held in the 250 BC at the capital city of Patliputra in order to promote the Buddhism. Remember one thing, Ashoka sent his son Mahendra and daughter Sanghamitra to Ceylon, what is that is called Sri Lanka, and the other South Asian countries for the propagation of Buddhism. This point is also very important. They will ask you, okay, just take this. This is the last slide. Nikhil. Is it done? Come to the next one. Remember one thing, in order to promote the Buddhism religion in the Sri Lanka and the South Asian countries, Ashoka sent Mahendra, his son, and daughter Sanghamitra. So they will ask you, in the Sri Lanka part and the South Asian nations, the Buddhism was basically propagated with the help of which people? You will say the son of Ashok, that is Mahendra, and daughter Sanghamitra. Ashoka was known by the name Devanam Piyadasi. This is very important. Devanam Piya, that is beloved of God, and Piyadasi, that is the pleasing appearance. So we call him Devanam Piyadasi. Devanam Piyadasi. It was the name given to Ashoka for his, we can say, good gesture, social upbringings, or we can say social welfare, everything. He was also known by the name Buddha Shakya and Ashok in the Maski Edict and Dharmashok in the Sarnath inscription. He was also known as by the name of Buddha Sakya and Ashok. So name of Ashok is mentioned in the Maski Rock Edict and the Dharmashok in Sarnath inscription. Remember one thing, Buddha Sakya is mentioned, Buddha Sakya and Ashok name is mentioned in the Maski Edict and Dharmashok is mentioned in the Sarnath inscription. Remember that. Don't forget this. This is important for you people. Okay, na? And if the question comes ki, where is the Maski? Maski is located where? Remember, Maski is basically in the Karnataka. This is in the Raichur district of Karnataka. Raichur, Karnataka. So remember, Ashok is known by the name Devanam Piyadasi, and second important thing is that the word Ashok is mentioned on the Maski Edict, which is in the Raichur district of Karnataka, and Dharmashok, and the name of Dharmashok is in the Sarnath inscription. Ashoka built altogether 39 rock and pillars across India from Kandahar to Mysore in order to propagate Buddhism. So remember one thing, all these rock edicts which were constructed by the Ashoka, it was altogether 39 in numbers. Total number of rock edicts that was constructed by Ashok was 39. Please try to remember, 39 was the total number of rock edict that was constructed by Ashoka from Kandahar to Mysore, and all these edicts were basically constructed just in order to, you can say, communicate with the people, because at that point of time we didn't have the medium like newspaper, we didn't have the medium like television, satellites, these things were not available, social media was not there. So so all these edicts were basically constructed at a place or at a point where people used to gather, and through these edicts they used to give the commands, or we can say the orders, or we can say the social orders that was required for the upliftment of the society, welfare of the people. So all these edicts has really helped Ashoka in order to promote the Buddhism religion, and also helped the Ashoka to communicate with the people of their empire. This was the basic reason or basic facts taken based on which these edicts were constructed. Now remember, I am telling you about his important edicts. You see, there are two important edicts. One is the Topra and second is the Meerut pillars. It was brought to Delhi by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. They will ask you कि when after the end of the Mauryan Empire, all these edicts were, you can say, uprooted. इसको उखाड़ दिया गया, it was uprooted. Some of the edicts, and these edicts were brought to Delhi or shifted to some other locations from their original location. So they can ask you which were those edicts which were uprooted from the original place and brought and was transferred to some other places. ठीक है ना? So remember that Topra and Meerut pillars. Don't forget this. Topra and Meerut pillars were brought to Delhi by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. They will simply ask you कि Topra edict and Meerut edicts was brought to Delhi by which emperor? You will say it was by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. The Kaushambi pillar was brought to Allahabad by Jahangir. Don't forget this. And the Bharat inscription was brought to Calcutta by Cunningham. Calcutta, Cunningham, Allahabad, Jahangir, and Delhi, Firoz Shah Tughlaq. So you have to remember four important pillars. One is the Topra and Meerut that was brought to Delhi by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Second is Kausambi pillar that was shifted to Allahabad by Jahangir, and Bharat inscription was brought to Calcutta by Cunningham. And it was all done just in order to study, just in order to know how Ashoka ruled their subjects, how they propagated the ideas of, we can say, administrative orders, how they propagated the ideas of social orders, how they propagated the idea of religious order to the common people. So it was the subject of study, and just in order to understand that, all these pillars were shifted from their original place to the other place, and it was done by different rulers. So remember one thing, Topra and Meerut by Firoz Shah Tughlaq, Kaushambi pillar was by Jahangir from Kausambi to Allahabad, and the Bharat inscription was shifted to Calcutta by Cunningham. Any doubt, guys? हाँ, it will help you, Arun. याद हो रहा है आप लोगों को? Are you able to memorize all these things? Are you getting all the points clearly? Are you able to memorize all these facts properly, or is there any issue? You have to read these PDF notes time and again, and you will get it. I try to memorize it. Actually, I am making it more factual only because in your examination, conceptual part is less, but you can say factual part is more. That is why I am orating most of the facts here. And remember one second important thing, all these inscription that were engraved on the rock pillars, and what was the total number of edicts? What was the total number of edicts that was erected by Ashoka? Can you tell me? 39. Very good. And the name Ashok is mentioned on the which rock edict? The name of Ashoka as Ashok is mentioned on which of the rock edict? Can you please tell me? The name Ashoka appears on which of the rock edict? You name that particular rock edict. It's Maski. Very good. It's on the which one? Maski. It's not on Sanchi, and Sanchi Stoop was constructed by him, Ashoka. Don't forget that. Sanchi Stoop. अशोक किस वंश से संबंधित थे? भाई मौर्य वंश पढ़ रहे हैं हम लोग। जीशन अली कहाँ हो? It's morning, come on, wake up. So remember that, and remember all these things. कि the languages that were used on those rock edicts to communicate with the people, there were two languages. One was called the Kharosti, second was called the Brahmani. It was written in the Kharosti. The language was Prakrit. I'm so sorry. The language was the Prakrit, but the script were Kharosti and the Brahmi. One more script was written there. उसको हम लोग बोलते हैं Aramic. Aramic. Remember one thing. Those rock edicts which were into the northwestern part of India, like Afghanistan and Kandahar region, which was erected by or which was constructed by Ashoka, those things were written in the Aramic one. ठीक है ना? ये Aramic था. Northwest Afghanistan region, or we can say the Kandahar region, यहाँ के जितने भी rock edicts थे, it was written in the Aramic script, and in the India part or in the rest of the India, it was into the which script? You will say Brahmani as well as the Kharosti. Brahmani and Kharosti was the script. Shubham, ये English medium batch है बेटा. I cannot teach in Hindi in this batch. Now everything is fine. So remember that the name of the script was Kharosti and the Brahmani script, and the language used into this rock edicts were the Prakrit. Remember one thing, the national emblem of India has been adopted from the four-loin capital of the Ashokan pillar, that is at Sarnath. The word Satyameva Jayate written under it in the Pali language has been taken from the Mundaka Upanishad. And Ashoka died in the which year? 232 BC. This was the end of Ashoka. 269 his rule started and it ended in 232 BC. This was the total tenure of Ashoka. Done, everyone? So remember, the national emblem that we use today has been taken from the Ashokan pillar at Sarnath, and below that national emblem we have a word written in the which one? Pali language. This is very important thing ki Satyamev Jayate, which is written on the Ashokan pillar, is in the which language? You will say the Pali language. And remember one thing, Prakrit was the language of rock edicts, and the rock edicts were written in the three scripts in fact: Aramic, Kharoshthi and Brahmi. Aramic, Kharoshthi and Brahmi. Don't forget this. Pali was the language that was mainly popularized by the Buddha and Jaina. Come to the next one. Now, remember one thing, कि after the decline of the Mauryan Empire, after the decline of the, you can say, okay guys, so now let me start with the next one. Just wait for a minute. You tell me, what was the Greek name of Chandragupta Maurya? Can you tell me, guys, what was the Greek name of Chandragupta Maurya? Please tell me. What was the name given by the Greek scholars to the Sandrocotus? Very good. And what about Ashoka? All of you, what was the name given to Ashoka? Devanam Piyadasi. Very good. It was Devanam Piyadasi. Okay. So can you tell me next one? The Topra and Merit pillar. The Topra and Merit pillars was brought to Delhi by which emperor? The Topra and Merit pillar were brought by which emperor? Firoz Shah Tughlaq. ठीक है ना? Which rock pillar was brought by Cunningham to Calcutta? Which rock pillar was shifted to Calcutta by Cunningham? Please answer me. Which rock pillar was shifted to Calcutta by Cunningham? It was Bharat. Very good. It was Bharat. And the Kaushambi pillar was shifted to Allahabad by Jahangir. Now remember one thing. The decline of the Mauryan Empire started just after the rule of Ashoka ended, after the death of Ashoka, because all the successors of the Ashoka was not as influential or as strong as the Ashoka was. And second important thing was that when Ashoka started following Buddhism and started following Ahimsa, then he gave up the policy of physical occupation. This policy of giving up the concept of physical occupation, and when he adopted the policy of Dhammaghosh, this led to the decline of Mauryan Empire. Because if you are a Kshatriya, if you are a king, if you are a monarch or emperor, and if you give up your main occupation, that is what the main occupation of showing physical possession to the people, it means your influence on the neighborhood rulers will completely fall down, and the people and the rulers adjacent to you, nearby you, will not obey to your directions and you can say sayings. So this was the main reason which resulted in the decline of the Mauryan Empire. Remember one thing, 185 BC, the last Mughal emperor was Brihadrat. and after whom this particular thing completely declined. But remember one thing, when the Mauryan rule ended in this country, then between 200 BC to 300 AD, so altogether it was a time period of how much? 500 years. From 200 BC to 300 AD, that is for 500 years, there was a political vacuum, and because of which many of the Western rulers started invading India and they attacked. The first in that category was the Indo Greeks. Remember one code, GSPK. The first foreign invader after the decline of Maurya who attacked India was the Greeks. Second was the Sakas. Third will be Parthian, and fourth will be the Kushan. These were the four important rulers who started attacking one after another from 200 BC to 300 AD. 200 BC to 300 AD. That you must know, from 200 BC to 300 AD. For the 500 years, the India was attacked by 5 foreign invaders: Greek, Sak, Parthian, Kushan. You see, Indo Greeks, the former generals of Alexander the Great, who settled in Bactria, that is the area around the Central Asia, were known as the Indo Greeks. Remember one thing, the generals of the Alexander who settled in Bactria. Bactria is basically the area of Central Asia, that is the Mongolia. It is nearby Mongol and all. This then was the Indo Greeks. The first ruler of the Indo Greek was Demetrius, followed by Eucratides and Menander. There were 3 important Greek rulers who ruled India. The first was the Demetrius. Don't forget his name, Demetrius, the very important ruler, and he was followed by Eucratides and Menander. The most important ruler of the Indo-Greek in India was the Menander, who ruled India from 165 to 145 BC. His rule is important. So I have told you 3 rulers in the Indo-Greek. First was the which one? Demetrius. Second was Eucratides, and third was Menander. Demetrius, Eucratides and Menander. The most important was the Menander, who ruled India from 165 to 145 BC. His capital was Sakala, which in present day is known as Sialkot in Pakistan. So Menander made Sakala as the capital, which is presently known as Sialkot in Pakistan. And Menander adopted Buddhism under the influence of Buddhist monk Nagsen, which has been mentioned in the Buddhist literature Milindapanno. And remember, this Milindapanno is basically a Buddhist text in which it is a conversation between the Buddhist monk Nagsen and the Indo-Greek ruler Menander. They will ask you, what is Milindapanno? They will simply say it's a conversation between 2 Buddhist monks. One is the Menander, the ruler of Greek, and second is the which one? Nagsen. And remember one thing, Indo Greeks were the first ruler in India to issue the coins which carried the portraits of the king and their names. The Indo Greeks were the first ruler to issue the coins made up of gold in India. This is very important fact. If the question comes, the first coin with the portrait, what is portrait? The coin on which you have the symbol, sign, or we can say of the emperor along with their ruling period. So portraits of king along with their name, this type of coin was first issued in India by the Indo Greeks, and Indo Greeks were also the first ruler in India who issued the coins made up of gold. So the question will come, the first gold coin in India was issued by which rulers? You will say Indo Greek rulers. First king was Demetrius, second was Eucratides, and third was Menander. Demetrius, Eucratides and Menander. And rule of Menander was 165 to 145 BC. Second was called the Shakas or the Scythians. This is important. The Indo-Greek were followed by the Shakas. The Shakas was the nomadic tribe who belonged to the Central Asia, and they were defeated by the king of Ujjain, Vikramaditya, in the year 57 BC, who also started the famous Vikram Samban. The most important ruler of the Shakas was Rudradaman, who ruled from 130 to 150 AD. And the Saka dynasty came to end in 390 AD as they were defeated by the Gupta king Chandragupta II. Remember one thing, Shakas or the Scythians, they were a nomadic tribe. What is nomadic tribe? Who keeps on roaming from one place to other place, and their main occupation was agriculture, and they also came from the Central Asia. Remember, Indo-Greeks were the rulers who came from the Central Asian region, Bactria, and the first king was Demetrius, and the most famous ruler was the Menander. The Indo-Greeks will be followed by the Shakas, who also came from the Central Asia, and they were defeated by the king of Ujjain, Vikramaditya, in the 57 BC, and this Vikramaditya started the which one? Vikram Samban. The most important ruler of the Shakas was Rudradaman. Don't forget his name. This will be asked it has been asked several times in exam. Rudradaman was the famous king or the famous ruler from which dynasty? You will say Shak dynasty. And Rudradaman's rule was from 130 to 150 AD. Now we are into AD, so years will increase. When we were into the BC, the year used to decrease. Remember that The Saka dynasty came to an end in 319 AD as they were completely defeated by the Gupta king Chandragupta II. So if the question comes, Vikram Sambat is basically a type of calendar from which the counting of the date was started, but we follow the Sak Sambat. Third rulers were the Parthians. The Parthians were from the Iranian origin, and the most important ruler of the Parthians was Gondopharnes, who ruled in India from 19 to 45 AD. 1980 to 45 AD. And what was the name? Gondopharnes. Don't forget his name. Gondopharnes. He is from the which one? He was the Parthian, and Parthian came from the which region? Iran. Remember that. A famous Christian, Saint Thomas, who believed to come to India during his period from the proclamation of Christianity. This is very important. You see, the Saint Thomas Church is in Kerala, which is the oldest church in India, and this Saint Thomas was a Christian missionary, who visited India to promote and propagate the Christianity in this country. And it is believed that Saint Thomas, who was a Christian missionary, visited India during the rule of Gondopharnes. तो ये इतिहास में क्वेश्चन बन जाता है कि भारत में पहला इंडिया में फर्स्ट टाइम जो क्रिश्चियन मिशनरी सेंट थॉमस आया था, he came during the which emperor? You will say Gondopharnes, and Gondopharnes was a Parthian ruler, and this Parthian ruler is supposed to be from the which origin? Iran origin. Next one is the Kushans. They belong to the Chinese tribe known as Yuhuchi. This is very important question, that the Kushan basically belong to which tribal group? You will say they belong to the Chinese tribal group, or the Chinese tribal group known as Yuhuchi. You call it Yuhuchi tribe है, ठीक है ना, इसको भूलना मत आप. The Kushan belong to the Chinese tribe known as the Yuhuchi, and they moved towards India after the construction of the Great Wall of China. So this Kushans came to India after the construction of the Great Wall of China. The most important king of the Kushan in India was Kanishk, don't forget his name, who ruled India from 78 to 101 AD. इसका टेन्योर बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. मैंने अभी 3 टेन्योर्स बताए हैं आपको. One I have told you about 165 to 145 BC. That was the tenure of Menander. In the last slide I told you about the Gondopharnes 19 to 45 AD, and then we have discussed about Rudradaman 130 to 150 AD. इसको फिर से देख लो आप लोग, ठीक है ना. 165 to 150 BC Menander, then we have 130 to 150 AD we have the Rudradaman, then we have 1980 to 45 AD Parthians, ठीक है ना, and the most important ruler was the Gondopharnes, and then we have the Kushan. The most important Kushan ruler was which one? Kanishk, and he ruled India from 78 to 101 AD. Don't forget the tenure. 78 to 101 AD was the tenure of Kanishk. Kanishk has 2 capitals. One is Peshawar, which is modern day Pakistan, and second it was the Mathura. So they may ask you a question कि Mathura was the capital. Mathura was the capital during whose rule? You will say it was under the rule of Kanishk. Any doubt, guys? All of you, any doubt? So who were the first to introduce gold coins in India? Can anyone say? First to issue the gold coins in India. In India, the gold coins were started or issued by which ruler? If you can please tell me. The first point of Kushan I told you about, it was not Samudragupta. I have not taught you Samudragupta period right now. It was the Indo Greek rulers, and they were also the first to issue the coins with the portrait of their kings as well. That was also one of the important, we can say, feature of the coins that were issued by the Indo Greek rulers. Then we are talking about the Kushan. I told you that Kushans belong to the Chinese tribal group who are known as Yuhuchi, ठीक है ना, and they moved to India after crossing the which one? You can say Great Wall of China. And the most important king of the Kushan was Kanishk, whose rule was from 78 AD to 101 AD. Don't forget his tenure, this is most important. Now Kanishka has 2 capitals, one at Peshawar and other was at the Mathura. इसको ही नहीं भूलना है कि कनिष्क ने 2 कैपिटल्स बनाए थे इंडिया के, एक पेशावर में और एक मथुरा में. Kanishka started the era known as Sakai Era, that is believed to be in 78 AD, and based on this Sakai Era we use the calendar. The government of India makes the calendar. We follow the calendar year based on the Sakai Era, which was started by Kanishka in 78 AD. And remember one thing, the 4th Buddhist Council in the 17 AD at Kundalwan in Kashmir was also held under the which one? You will say उसको सक संवत भी कहते हैं, साका एरा भी कहते हैं, इसको भूलना नहीं है. Don't forget that. Clear, guys? All of you. The only basic difference between the Sak and the Vikram Samvat is that Saka started their own calendar that came to be known as the Sak Samvat, and Kanishka started their own calendar that came to be known as the which one? So Vikram Samvat will be started by Vikramaditya. That was in the Gupta ruler. That was the Gupta period. But it is believed that this 78 AD, when we came into the first century AD, remember one thing, when we came into the No, Great Wall of China was not constructed by the Kushans. Kushans crossed the border of China after the construction of Great Wall of China. Tanu, the only difference between the Sak and Vikram Samvat is that Sak Samvat was started by Kanishk and Vikram Samvat was started by Chandragupta Vikramaditya. But the government of India had started following the which one Sak Samvat, because it is believed that on this 78 AD, actually this is a very confusing year in the minds of historians, because it is believed that it may be 1st century AD. It's not 70, it must be 1st century AD, from where the Anno Domini started. So since it is believed that, because exact date of this particular period is not known, so since it was nearby 1st century AD or the 100 AD, so they adopted this particular year as the base for which one? Calendar year. Good morning. Sakai Era, I told you same thing. Sakai Era is basically the year or the date which is believed to be the birth of Kanishk. By one historian, other believe that it is the start of the Anno Domini period. Since it was the start of the Anno Domini period, so calendar was started to be calculated, dates and years were started to be calculated from this particular reason. Now, the most important persons in the court of Kanishk were Ashoka, who wrote the Buddha Charitra, Nagarjun, who wrote Madhyamik Sutra, Charak, a famous physician who wrote the Sushrut. Kanishk was succeeded by Vashishka, Huvishka, Vasudev, but they all were unable to control the empire, and the Kusan dynasty came to an end around 4th century AD. My notes and lectures are sufficient for the exam RRB NTPC. You see, I am not teaching the people of SSC and CDS. So when you will watch my class in the CDS and SSC courses, you will come to know that I used to teach more deeply. But for your exam, that much deep knowledge is not required. So I am getting factual more often. This is the only reason. Remember, 3 important persons in the court of Kanishk was Ashoka, the author of Buddha Charitra, Nagarjuna, the author of Madhyamik Sutra, and Charak. Charak was a famous physician. You can say the first surgeon in India who wrote the Sushrut Samhita. This is not Sushrut, this is Sushrut. Charak, a famous physician. So 3 important personalities you have to remember: Ashoka, author of Buddha Charitra; Nagarjuna, height sufficient, Srinivasji. Ashoka, writer of Buddha Charitra; Nagarjuna, the writer of Madhyamik Sutra; and Charak, a famous physician who wrote the Sushrut. And Kanishk was succeeded by Vashishka, Huvishka, Vasudev. Vashishka, Huvishka, Vasudev. And they were not as prominent as the Kanishk, so this Kanishk rule came to the decline. Is it clear to all of you? Just give me 1 minute. What is your concern, Amit? Can you please tell me? What is your concern, Amit? Can you please tell me? Amit, can you please tell me what is your main concern? Okay, so guys, any query from today's class, you can raise the queries now. Now I will take your queries. The last ruler of the Mauryan Empire was Brihadrat. Let me write. Brihadrat. And he died in 185 BC. Next question is, the Great Wall of China was built by which one? Remember one thing, the Great Wall of China was built by the Yuan rulers. Yuan. Was built by the Yuan rulers. Clear all of you? Any other query? No, Chanakya is known as Brahmagupta. He is known as Kautilya and he is known as Vishnugupta. Tanu Srivastava, Chanakya is known as Vishnugupta or the Kautilya. Okay, I have got one more question from one guy who is known as the second Ashoka in history. Remember Kanishk. He is called as the second Ashoka. Harish, you have a query with me. How many questions will you expect from the history point of view in RRB NTPC, and for that what the important topics to cover? The current affairs covers more when we come to exam point of view. Then how much history covers in that GK in that particular exam? You see, there will be near about 7 to 10 questions. There will be near about 7 to 10 questions. So don't bother for that. I will cover all the important sections. You don't have to bother for that altogether. You see, there is a question from your end. When was in which century was the Great Wall of China built? You see, the Great Wall of China was not completed in 1 century. It's basically the construction was started in the 7th century BC. That is around 700 BC. It started around 700 BC. This is the first important period taken up by the Chu dynasty. Then after that, in 1878, it was by Qing dynasty. Qing, Qing dynasty. Remember that. And some part of it was also constructed by Ming dynasty. So we cannot say there was one dynasty which resulted in the construction of China. So it was Chu, then we have Qing, and then we have the which one? Ming dynasty. Narsimha, what is your question? I didn't get that. Please let me read your question. Narsimha, let me check your question. So only this PDF information is enough for NTPC. Exactly. This PDF information is enough for NTPC. You don't have to do much, don't have to make most of the fights over it. It's more than enough. Okay, guys? Is it done? Okay, that was all for today's session. In the next class tomorrow, we will study about the Gupta Empire. Hope I was able to make you people understand all the things related with the who guided Ashoka to Buddhism. It was